for this D6 Warlock, but okasinnsuke and I do believe also Hizesi and Trahisan were running the Soul Rend version. Unfortunately, of those three, it's only okasinnsuke left to prove that that version is better. But looks like he's on the Mage first. I don't know if this is an error of the graphics or an error of what okasinnsuke queued, but we'll get confirmation on that as soon as possible.
Yeah, on the match sheet it says Mage versus Paladin, so I guess maybe wrong deck being shown pre-submission, but that is totally fine. This is still, I believe, the correct matchup, and one that I am glad we're getting to see. Shaxy's build here of Bonk Paladin, I believe, as Otsuna was trying to name it, where you run the secret package, similar to what Lambi series was going for, but a more stripped down late game and more aggression early on. The double Skulker, as we can see here, gives much more ability to, stealth his minions, get more presence early on, guarantee more buffs, and has taken overall more aggressive stance in the matchup, which should work well against Mage.
Yeah, the stealth is mostly in there to support Blessing of Authority, because that card, if you're able to stick it on a minion and then go Wind Fury, you often give him a 1-2 punch for the lethal. But it's hard to assume you have a target for Blessing of Authority if your opponent can easily remove each and every minion, thus the stealth. However, it's good for okasinnsuke that he's running that one of Devolving Missiles tech that I think a bunch of the Japanese GMs have been favoring in their Mage. It's going to be very, very crucial in this matchup. And as for the secret package from Shaxy, he's only running one of Galloping Savior and two Omayog as compared to Lambi series. So okasinnsuke will have Omayog top of mind, but it looks like Shaxy pulled the one of Galloping for the first secret.
And so here for okasinnsuke, you obviously have the ability to go with the coin, the classic ideal card to proc Omayog, because you save all your more important cards. But I wonder if you're supposed to just ping and deliberately not proc at all on this turn, because then if he swings again, you can have perfect information as to what the secrets will be. And it also means that they can't go Omayog, swing Omayog again, which is definitely the worst of the two secrets to get. So I'm kind of partial to just ping pass here.
I think it's too slow, sorry. I think
really?
Even if one of your spells that you want to play on this turn gets Omayog, they're both arcane, right? So you're able to play the other one. And the thing is, if you pass here and then your opponent swings and they get Galloping, that actually makes your turn 3 really awkward, because you kind of want to play 3 cards on turn 3. Well, in the end,
yes, I guess.
Yeah, it's close for sure. Okasinnsuke finds out it's Galloping though, and because Shaxy didn't swing again, Okasinnsuke is still free to not play around Omayog, I guess.
Yeah, full information here. But how you capitalize on that information is not so clear actually, right? He's played, obviously, Arcane only, so we could just see Coin Fire Sale, Coin Fireball, and then follow up with a Frost next turn to complete the quest and start advancing it to completing level 2 as well. But both Coin Fireball and Coin Fire Sale are bad plays.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to maybe Fire Sale into the deck, see what it gets you.
Okay.
If you miss on anything good, the Rune Orb feels bad because he already has an Arcane played in Cram Session, right? But I am looking at saving this coin for turn 4 Refreshing Springwater to make sure that he has a way to proc the Galloping and perhaps clear the Galloping the turn that it pops out.
Very aggressive use of Brain Freeze here, which obviously makes sense. You are still progressing the quest. Everything I was advocating for was pretty liberal and wasteful with the use of the actual effect of the spell. But still, he's getting a little bit vulnerable now.
True. And maybe my play of putting back the Fire Sale in the deck is not good, because Fire Sale is actually a card you want to play in this matchup as it happens, because, well, Shaxy's positioning around Combustion, I thought maybe you want the Stealth in the middle, but this still ends up pretty okay against Combustion, because the Murgle needs 2 pings to really get Combustion to be a big punish, right? Pickup of Devolving Missiles now. Okasinnsuke only lacking a Fire spell for first proc on quest, which he did pick up with a Combustion.
So obviously the expected line, if you go coin, it's possible that you get more mana with either Prep, Innovate, or Lightning Bloom, but it's a good chance that you don't have any more mana, so you just go coin Fire Sale, and then that thankfully doesn't proc. Doesn't proc the Galloping Savior as well, and then there's only 3 damage on the board. It's not the end of the world, and you've progressed your quest as well.
Yeah, I think that's quite good. I always make this mistake with Omayog, thinking that, oh, I have to test for it, but then I think I get the mana from the coin.
Right.
And everything ends up being weird. But this actually works out super cleanly for Okashinsuke.
Is it Flurry here?
No. Oh, okay, sorry. It's on 1. He's on 4 mana, right? I was wondering if, like, if you play Flurry and it's the 3rd card, will it freeze the Galloping? But there's only 1 target, so.
Right. Has he even played 2 cards? Because the Raised Dead didn't trigger, right? So he's only kind of played 1 card this turn? I actually don't know.
I don't know if that counts either. And that's an interaction from last meta.
Yeah, I'm surprised I don't know that, but good one to know.
2 things to test from here.
Yeah.
Leave it as a footnote, but for now, Shaxy going to go all in here, and I think he has to because he has this Battleground Battlemaster in hand. 7 damage on board, could turn into 14 next turn, and he is hiding behind 2 secrets to make Okashinsuke's life as difficult as possible. This certainly wants to be devolved, Divine Shield minion, but first he has to test for Omayog again, which he knows are the last 2 remaining secrets.
Yeah, but how do you actually test? Because Flurry here is premium, like both for its effect, and also because it's a frost spell to advance your quest as well. Like, so I wonder if going, I don't know, Runed Orb Face, or just let the devolving missiles get oh my yogged. Maybe even Fireball Face.
Maybe not Fireball, it's kind of expensive. I'm looking at maybe Ignite. I'd rather have the Runed Orb than Ignite right now because of the redundancy of fire spells, and also I think the Discover might be valuable. I also agree with you that the Flurry is important though. The thing is, like this turn, it's either Devolving or Flurry, and while there's 2 minions, maybe it's better to Flurry, but then there's also the Galloping to have to contend with, so man, he does go with Fireball to test. There's a lot of good 4-cost outcomes, right? That's not one of them.
Raised Dead and Potion of Illusion. His deck is begging him to play minions, but he won't listen.
Pressure there for Okashinsuke. I was talking about from 4 mana things like, I guess, Overgrowth or anything that affects their board, like Holy Nova, Consecrate, pretty decent.
Yeah, true. Could have even been another Fire Sale, for all he knows.
Okay. Well, this is Savior 100%. That makes things a bit simpler, but at the same time, having no Flurry is painful here for Okashinsuke.
Yeah, it really is. Starting off with a ping as well is so much mana to use up on this turn when everything is so tight because you haven't played the flow so far this game. So going coin Devolving Missiles, praying that these are very small minions he's generating.
Oh, that's so good. It's not the perfect combust, but I think that's better than Okashinsuke would have seen as average. I mean, he was hoping for this outcome, right? He expended ping deliberately over Runed Orb so as to proc the Galloping Savior here. And that means he is finally on 2nd quest completion.
Ooh, so he needs a Frost spell, but First Flame is undeniably the best of these cards in this instance.
I'm taking the First Flame here. I don't think this is a matchup where you can spend 3 mana, do nothing. He's already spent 4 mana, do nothing on the Oh My God. So I think the Spring Water gives him a decent chance of picking up a better Frost spell. So I like the most efficient option.
Agreed. Agreed. And through this very clever line by Okashinsuke, as you said, not proccing the Galloping Savior, that is the specific play that kept him alive. Otherwise, he would have just been straight up dead to 24 damage with Conviction Battlemaster. Now, obviously, it's, well, only 12 damage that he can do on this turn, which, while very impressive, is not game-winning. Far from it, because the burst damage from hand is very limited. And so because of that, is it First Blade Hero Power? Do you go First Blade Conviction Hero Power and cash in some of the damage now?
Reporting for duty.
I was kind of into that because the First Blade feels pretty safe at this point, right? After having seen the Devolving, having seen 2 Flurries, has it been now? or maybe just one, but I kind of like the idea of cashing in the damage, but Shaxy here maybe is just confident that between 3 minions on board and a galloping still intact that he can stick 2 of them, and 2 almost always presents lethal with the Conviction Battlemaster.
Still, obviously, the threat of proccing the Galloping Savior, and so just going ping first flame is a valid line. If he survived last turn, he will survive this turn. I don't think we'll have a hard read on Battlemaster plus Conviction, but I don't know. Shaxy's playing kind of suspiciously, leaving 2 cards in hand here and just going Rin hero power. You start to get an idea.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he can proc the Galloping and still clear 3 minions. The mana doesn't work out. I think with the studies, he was going for exactly Lab Partner because he would have been able to go 0 mana Lab Partner here. 2 first flames.
Sure.
One of them deals, well, I guess just enough to kill the 3-1 and the 1-1, right? And then fit in a ping, I guess. So he could have killed a 3-1 and a 3-4 with a ping.
Right, but I mean, despite playing around the Galloping Savior so cleverly up until this point, he's now just left himself dead to Conviction plus Battlemaster. It's just over.
That's exactly it.
Man, it's hard to do. It's so hard to effectively play around such a brutally powerful combo, but for okasinnsuke, it felt like he was on track for such a well-played, disciplined game. But even though the lines that I was setting out of, you know, just ping plus first flame, apologies, was very slow, I still think it might have been good enough to get there. If your opponent gets a dead draw off the top there, they kind of have to go in with the Battlemaster at that point, and then you can clear, and you're feeling pretty safe, actually.
Yeah, I think it might have been a case of maybe getting a bit flustered at the end there for okasinnsuke, because starting off with the studies, I think his head was in the right place, where if you get Lab Partner, I think that turn ends up being a bit easier than it was. But if you miss, you could still do the thing you're talking about, right, with just ping first flame. That's 2 cards total played. And then only 1 minion on board, right?
Yeah, yeah.
1-1 first flame out 3-1. And then maybe next turn you do the thing with Springwater, proc the Savior. But perhaps there were some other draws that we were not accounting for from Shaxy. Maybe going super slow there leaves okasinnsuke super vulnerable to something like Hammer of the Naru over a couple turns.
Yep.
It's really, really difficult. And I noticed that as a caster, I often do this thing against Secrets where I talk about all the problems but don't actually give a solid solution.
Yes.
Go about it. Because it's really hard.
Yeah. No, it's incredibly difficult. And again, maybe he thought he was slowly losing that game. So as you said, if you hit Lab Partner there, maybe it was playing to win rather than playing to just survive. Like, he might have progressed his quest a lot quicker then, actually started to move towards a reasonable win condition. I still think it was an unnecessary risk, all things considered. But he maybe just had a different approach at that point, a different view on how things were shaping out. But with the OTK quest Demon Hunter left over still for okasinnsuke, I think he's still looking to be in a fine spot. A deck that we haven't got to see all too much because of the prevalence with which it has been banned, and Lambie Series didn't even bring it earlier on today. But still a very, very strong deck, and one that I think should be in a good spot against the Hunter from Shaxy.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I've always favored this matchup for the Demon Hunter, although I suppose in this meta, despite all the shiny new toys that OTK Demon Hunter has gotten, I think Face Hunter with the single addition of Aim Shot has moved a couple percentage more in their direction. Not so much as favored, but it's a lot closer than before in my opinion, because Face Hunters have this new source of damage in their arsenal that is completely independent of minions on board. And if they're not on board, it makes it very difficult for the Demon Hunter to then heal with things like Fellscreep Blast and Eye Beam. And if the Face Hunter consistently puts the Demon Hunter under fear of Aim Shot lethal, Piercing Shot lethal, and keeps pushing the button every turn, a lot of times the Demon Hunter ends up in a spot where they have to use their healing inefficiently, and that window can be created for Hunter to then maybe get back on board or somehow punish it with continuous burst.
Yeah, it's the inefficient healing. It's also just the, I don't know, the apparent lack of spell damage, I guess you could say, because even though using Moargs hurts because you're damaging your combo, the most consistent combo piece that I've felt I've had to use throughout the course of the game is the Talented Arcanists. Once they go, it becomes so much more difficult to actually OTK your opponent. Maybe the Guild Trader can go some way to remedy that, but even so, I think that if okasinnsuke he still needs to bear in mind that you have to actually kill your opponent. I don't believe Face Hunter is a deck that you can just heal, and hope that they fatigue themselves. Eventually, you do have to actually apply some pressure on the backswing. But either way, for okasinnsuke to get things going, not the greatest of hands quite yet.
Yeah, he did keep the studies, which I think I'm seeing very varied opinions on whether you actually keep that as OTK Demon Hunter, because you can make the argument before that, oh, the studies, you easily get it to the left the same way a Spectral Sight would after you play the quest. But it so happens that okasinnsuke got pretty locked in here by the early Il'gynoth prior to any discount. That's inconvenient, but the double Sigil runners are actually pretty good here to challenge the Volpertingers, if anything.
Yeah, it's just tempo straight up. It's pretty good. Demon Companion?
Yeah.
I mean, what's...
Wriggled Horror?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you could coin it out, actually. It does kind of mess up your curve, but not terribly. You could still just go Aim Shot, Wrangler, Rhino, or Barrack on 5.
Yeah, it's really close. I mean, the thing is, both Wriggling and Demon Companion are weak to Immolation Aura.
Yeah.
So if you're playing around that, you can't, is my point. So act like it's not there, push everything face, and make sure your Volpertingers aren't at least dead on board. I like this.
And I guess at the same time, it is weak to Immolation Aura, but it feels bad to actually use it here for okasinnsuke because, you know, you don't want to lose the value that you've gotten from your 2/1/1s. And so maybe instead it will just be, as we see here, the Fellscream Blast instead. It's a pretty valuable resource, but just using it here to clear the board, not bad.
It is not bad, but man, every time I use Fellscream like that early against Hunter, do I feel like I need it back later on in the game. So I think okasinnsuke might go for a double trade Hero Power I-Beam clear here instead.
Right.
The Fellscream just presents so much healing that's way more flexible than I-Beam because it always costs 1, and you can heal a lot easier with the multiplication of that. Actually, I think the ideal outcome for okasinnsuke there might have been the weapon, the 3-mana 2/2 Outcast duel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He might have been searching for exactly that from the studies, but missed it. But in either case, I think he was smart to give up on both the Aura and the Fellscream.
Shaxy with no concerns for mana efficiency whatsoever by going for the aim shot here, just going for squeaking in as many hero powers as he can. You know, positives and negatives. Obviously, you're kind of getting more damage overall, but your opponent can just heal that up, and then you kind of haven't spent the mana. But then I guess you have the aim shot for later on for more hero powers. It wasn't the play I would have made at first glance, but it kind of makes sense.
Hungry, aren't ya?
True. I mean, this has just turned into a weird game of hero power back and forth now, but after that brief intermission, Shaxy is back in business. Double 7/6 Rhino. And yes, it's not often that Demon Hunter will play minions and that's it on board, especially having seen 2 Crimson Sigil runners, but that can't happen for the entire game, right? And Shaxy, it's still a 6 health minion that he can drop on curve even if it doesn't immediately trample over something.
Oh, and for okasinnsuke, he gets the quest completion, but it's again just a really bad quest completion. Like getting the Guild Trader, you know, it can have an effect to bring it down to 3 instead of 4, but you're much more often going to be trading it away in this matchup.
Yeah, these are not the discounts you want to see. Against Hunter, the first 2 quest procs are super important to make sure that you can efficiently go for the healing and the board clears, and this is the opposite of that. He does, however, at least have I-Beam to deal with what is very likely a Rhino coming down next turn, but man, is that slow.
And even then, for okasinnsuke, did we like playing the Illidari studies at the end there in order to get another Outcast card? It means, you know, he plays the Spectral Sight, draws more cards. How much does he care about completing that second layer of quest, or is he just purely 100% in on mana efficiency?
It's really tough to say. Okay, I-Beam's huge. You can play both Morg and I-Beam both of these, actually. Slightly questionable because that means each Moarg is dead to just a wound prey, for example, or at least the first Moarg is.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could just play one Moarg and still go double I-beam. He doesn't have to play both of them. He could go Guild Trader, Moarg, Fellscream Blast as well if he wants to. Like, there is so many ways to go about this.
Don't quite like the Fellscream Blast this early, but maybe okasinnsuke disagrees. This looks like it's good. Oh, okay, Immolation Aura. So he's holding all the combo pieces in hand right here, which feels somewhat like a frivolous use of resources, but he has health to work with.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird game overall for okasinnsuke, I've got to say.
Well, Shaxy has second Rhino, and that was a big usage of clearing power from okasinnsuke, so I'd be very tempted to play the second one here. Warlock actually is pretty bad here. You don't draw a 2-cost spell anymore with 2 in hand.
I mean, it's still okay. You know, you get some pressure, a minion on the board. It's probably going to be cleared no matter what you play. Like, if you play Rhino, you have to expect it to be Moarg I-beamed. But getting another aimed shot like this is so much damage in hand. Oh my goodness.
That's true, actually. What this does for Shaxy is he never has to get on board again, right? Yeah. This Wound Prey immediately gets piercing shotted, and then he can weave in either a quick shot or a hero power, and then the turn after he goes double aim shot, quick shot. How much damage is that?
It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. Okay, double jump does allow him to complete stage 2 of the quest. Can then follow up with Sigil, I guess, at the end. It's more bad cards to draw. He's not reducing anything that actually matters at all.
So,
is he just deliberately not going to complete it?
Really?
Okay.
But then what's their good left to discount? Really just the other Arcanist, right?
Yeah, and the other Moarg. One of these is philosophied, I think.
Oh, true. And it's very specific things.
It is very specific.
For Shaxy, I mean, we're going in here, right? Like, Wound Prey, piercing shot the Wound Prey. You might even quick shot face. I don't know.
Oh my god, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of damage available.
Okay, so if you Wound Prey, piercing shot, that's 6 damage to face. You can Barrock face for 9. Quick shot face for 12. And then you have aim shot, hero power, which is 12 again the next turn.
Yeah, I love it. Imagine hero power.
Yeah.
He just has enough to do 3 damage instead of 2 on the hero power.
Yeah. Well, you always hero power next turn because it's just better than a quick shot, but yeah.
Yes, sure,
I mean, this turn, you simply don't need to hero power. Okay, well, that's a combo piece to discount, but really okasinnsuke feels the need to heal here, and he can, Moarg IB.
Yeah. He wants to still have mana to complete the quest. Like, if he goes double jump and hits the Spectral Sights, I believe there's one left in the deck, could still go Moarg I-beam, right? Exactly. And then draw again off attacking with the weapon. So, like, he has mana to work with on this turn. Yeah, but it depends what's off the double jump. So I guess you start with the double jump and see what's in there. Yeah, I agree.
Because if you miss on the Spectral, you might go for double Moarg I-beam instead.
Starting philosophy. He still has a Moarg Artificer in the deck, though. Like, he could hit another one.
Well, he was convinced on the need to double Moarg here.
Okay.
So I think he's just committed to trying to finish or get the OTK next turn. Because if one of these Moargs stick, it's lethal.
True, actually. Yeah, that is true.
It's 36 if one Moarg sticks. Ambitious if it sticks, to be fair.
No, you're not wrong. Shaxy has a couple ways to go about dealing with that, though. Obviously, you don't want to send these aim shots and quick shots into minions, but I think killing off these Moargs is too important, so Rhino aimed shot is probably where I'm at.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. The aim shot is not more damage than a quick shot on the first half of the spell without the bonus, so just be mana efficient here. Shaxy could be thinking, can I afford to let one Moarg live? But even not accounting for straight up lethal, leaving a Moarg on board tends to just delete whatever additional damage you got by leaving it on board because it's going to account for more healing. So you have to remove the Moarg.
I mean, I agree. He knows there's another Moarg in hand, and I'm trying to figure out if that incentivizes him or disincentivizes him from killing it, because on one hand you can say he just has another one. If he's going to Moarg I-beam, he can do that anyway, but it makes it more likely that he has the OTK if you leave up this Moarg. So I would be tempted still to kill it, but he's going for sending the spell face, which I think just means okasinnsuke's got it.
That's just the lethal. We said this last turn. If one Moarg lives, this is 36 damage. It's 39 with Moarg and weapon attack face.
This never happens. You never stick a Moarg for the OTK next turn. Never.
Never happened to me.
Wow.
Or I've left a Moarg in desperation, and my opponent, who is also a demon hunter, used that for their lethal. That's what happens.
Man, I mean, I'd be curious to know what Shaxy's thought process is now. I mean, obviously his thought process going into the turn was, I pray he doesn't have this and I need the damage to go face, but very weird overall. You know, a weird game where okasinnsuke was at some points being very liberal with his quest completion, just trying to do it no matter what and not really worrying about what he was discounting, but then transitioning over to being very, very careful about it and what cards he was trying to reduce with the quest. I do think in the mid game that Shaxy had the right idea of it though, by going for trying to just get all the burn spells in his hand, as many as possible, and then just try and kill him over the top, not let him get big heal on his own minions. But in the end, just left himself too vulnerable to the OTK. I've never seen it work out like that before.
Me neither. I mean, okasinnsuke's line of play also seemed very weird to me around turn 4 onwards, or the turn he went for the Arcanist Immolation Aura, because it felt like that play works against Shaxy's exact hand, which is very minion light and burn heavy, right? So you don't need the Immolation Aura. But what if Shaxy went for like a refill with Kolkar Pack Runner, something like even Volpertinger with another Wriggling Horror? It's so tough to predict. But I will say that what I really liked from okasinnsuke was the very early turn where he deliberately held onto Fellscream Blast. He looked for a different way outside of that from the studies to clear the board, and that Fellscream held all the way until turn 9. It gave him lethal, but in a lot of other panouts gives him healing that he needs to eventually get to a later lethal.
Well, either way, we're moving up to one game apiece. The Demon Hunter taking the win, as was kind of expected from okasinnsuke. We're left with a Warlock on either side, a Mage on one side, and a Hunter on the other. I would say that for Shaxy, his trump card is still the Hunter. He took a loss with it there, but against the likes of Mage and this D6 Warlock, as we've been calling it, that is a lot more vulnerable to the burn damage. It's a deck that, you know, as we saw from Lambie series variant with the Baron Scavengers and the Bloodshard Bristlebacks, that doesn't need to damage itself quite so much. It can just draw through to the end of its deck, heal up a lot, and then play these big minions. But this version needs to harm itself in order to get through to the quest at the end and go for the OTK, which means that Hunter punching you in the face makes that very, very difficult to do.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to cast this because you're casting from the past, as Subtle put it. Like, if the animations really got going on those big combo turns, okasinnsuke will know whether or not he's won way before we do. And there is a possibility of that happening, perhaps a bit lower for it to be early, because one Stealer in hand means obviously less chance to discount Stealer off of free admission. Now 0 chance to discount Stealer. But discounted Dark Layers, 2 of them for 0, could still make some OTK shenanigans very real.
Yeah, Dark Lair is still good. You would much rather get the Stealer of Souls most of the time. But, I mean, even having said that, against such an aggressive deck as Hunter, maybe you do just want to go for the game plan of reducing the Dark Layers and going for a kind of weird pop-off turn where you're not going for an OTK, but you're just gaining back a lot of mana, dealing a lot of damage to the minions, and then healing up at the end.
Yeah, I can definitely see that against Hunter. That sounds a lot more reasonable. Shaxy with the perfect top deck. His Rhinos might be trampling over Stealers, but for okasinnsuke, he now guarantees at least 1 Dark Layer off of the free admission. I don't know whether that's good or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you would like to have a 2-mana Matron. Like, it's just a 2-mana 5/5 rush. Like, ignoring all the possibilities with Hand of Gul'dan, that's just a lot of tempo to swing back.
True, but it means nothing developed this turn.
Yeah.
You could think about coining Matron now?
That's true. So what, if you go coin Matron into Stealer of Souls next turn in order to be mana efficient? It's not bad. It's not terrible. Obviously, you've then
on board.
Matron is dead on board, and you would then have lost both Stealer of Souls because you would discard one, play the other, and presume it dies. Right. Which, again, in this version of the deck is the most painful deck to lose both Stealer of Souls. You kind of need it for your win condition. But against Hunter, can you just get there by getting Tamsin online, healing up a bunch, dealing damage to them slowly over the course of the game later on by just tapping and playing backfires? I don't know.
I mean, I'm just looking at free admission because if you get double Dark Glares around turn 5, you can sort of do very cool things with Stealer, but
True,
I guess you only have one tap to do it. Oh, top for Shaxy. Look at Shaxy's face. That's the most expression we've ever seen out of this man, other than slight boredom.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're going in.
Get you a wife that Shaxy looks like that at.
Okay, I don't think you want other people to look at your wife like that, but sure.
Well, that you would look at like Shaxy looks at that. It was a very confused analogy with lots of weird tenses. But overall, I mean, the main takeaway is just that this is an absolute slaughter. My goodness, yeah. I've never seen it be even close to as one-sided as this. I mean, that doesn't even do anything. You can just kill yourself quicker.
Yes. I'm sorry. I got excited, but...
Yeah.
Okay, small note. Shaxy, I like him buffing anything other than the original Mankrik and the summoned one. So any of these 1/1s, because the Matron has to be in hand here, very likely. So you don't want to give Okashinsuke a perfect 4 or 5 target.
No, very, very true.
Rhino, however, yeah, it dies, but it's dealing 3. We're doing that.
Was that 5, 6, 7, 10? Very likely lethal in the coming turns. Okashinsuke can obviously go for Dark Glare, Coin, Stealer, Tap, and hope that he can pop off there, but he would be down to 3 health. Like, he doesn't have enough health to work with to play these backfires or these Hands of Gul'dans that he's trying to draw.
Nothing. He has a Soul Rend in the deck, one of inclusion. I don't even know if that does enough. The Mankrik's too big. Yeah. I'll have 3 mana after this. Touch. Okay.
Touch?
Double touch. We can go to 10 and then die in 2 turns instead.
Do you tap here first? I guess you're just too low on health, right?
I just struggle to identify a win condition. This deck is playing Raise Dead, but even if you Raise Dead the Dark Glare, it's not going to be cheap enough to play with Stealer, and Shaxy found the immediate lethal anyway. So that's going to be a very, very, very quick Game 3 off the back of the top deck Mankrik into top deck Mankrik's wife for Shaxy.
Yeah, rough one for Okashinsuke overall. He got like a good hand. He drew the admission. He had Stealer of Souls. You know, if he had a bit more health, he was moving towards some very, very powerful turns. But this is exactly what Hunter does. It doesn't give you that time. It doesn't give you that health to be able to damage yourself and then recoup with a big combo later on. And obviously Shaxy got very, very lucky by getting Mankrik off the top. Even if that wasn't there, though, I think Okashinsuke would have been riding a very fine line as to whether or not he would have been able to get there, right on the edge of possible. But with that outcome, obviously there was absolutely no chance for him whatsoever. So Hunter out the way, honestly an expected outcome. Like I was saying, great against the Warlock, great against the Mage, the expected win. Now for Shaxy, it's this Zoo Warlock that is going to be the real question for him. Can he get over the finish line here? Because he's got a well, a very hybrid-y version, right? It's not the aggressive one with Heckle Fangs. It's not even the version that cuts Stealer of Souls. It is straight up down the middle. It can do Zooey stuff with Dark Glare, Flame Imp, Bloodbound Imps, and the Flesh Giants, of course, but it can transition into the same win condition as the 6 Demons version, where you go Stealer of Souls, deal a whole bunch of damage to your opponent, complete the quest, play Tamsin, and then just kill them.
But the difference with this deck is obviously it gets to that win condition a lot later than average. I mean, if we're talking about that half of the deck compared to the D6 Warlock. And I know that Sottle and Raven were making a lot of fun of me for adding so many names to the names of these decks, but what word can you actually delete? Hello? There's too many Warlocks to distinguish properly. Just trying to defend myself a bit there. I will say that what you said was a good quote-unquote hand last game from Okashinsuke versus the Hunter. Maybe that's good enough versus Zoo if they aren't doing the super fast things with the Flesh Giant on 8, but that doesn't generally get there against Hunter because you don't have the health to work with, right, to pop off around turn 5, turn 6. Like, you have to pop off with the discounted cards as soon as possible. But Okashinsuke is switching to the Mage, it looks like, first, which I think has a decent shot versus a Zoo Warlock because it is damaging itself very, very heavily. So if they are a little bit too frivolous with their usage of health, you can just get over the line with a couple Ignites and Fireballs.
And so, the late game win condition, obviously I absolutely agree on. You're completing the quest and you're trying to get there with just a burn at the end. But the fact that this is hybrid Warlock, right, it has 2 distinct parts to it. You can go for the early Zoo game plan where you play a lot of minions, or you can try and take it slow and go for the Stealer of Souls. Do you think there's a valid approach with this specific matchup of these 2 archetypes where you can just not play any minions at the start, not give them targets to play their Frost spells, some of their Flame spells as well, and try and set up for an OTK later on with the Stealer of Souls?
I don't think that's consistent enough because the OTK, for that to be fast enough to beat a Mage that can pretty likely get their Varden turn 6-ish if you're not putting them under any pressure whatsoever, it means you need to get perfect discounts on free admission, right? Which is not guaranteed because you're playing demons other than the 6, like this Bloodbound Imp. So I want to see Shaxy keep that, and yes, he does. I think the much better game plan with this version of deck is to play the half of it that isn't the D6 version, which is get your Flesh Giant turn 4, pressure them that way. They don't have infinite freezes for that.
Well, Shaxy has got, if you want to go for that early minion-based approach, pretty much to the nuts. Everything works out so cleanly. You can coin the Imp, Demon Seed, Flame Imp, then attack. You get the full, all the damage you're doing to yourself is also progressing your quest, and you're doing a lot of damage to your opponent in the meanwhile.
And when you see that coin Bloodbound Imp for Okashinsuke, you're expecting quest plus a 1-drop, right? They don't often coin that out if they don't have, like, do they even run Tour Guide here? I guess, just a good way to spend the rest of the mana. And so holding on to Fire Sale rather than trading it could be a wise decision to set up for a clear on both the Bloodbound and a possible Flame Imp on the follow-up. I just wonder if it's too slow. Just pinging here feels pretty bad.
It's really interesting because this is obviously not much health that you are saving, and I'm wondering what the utility of saving the 2 damage to the Warlock on specifically this turn. Like, are they going to go Dark Glare now? You know, there is the curve where you can go Dark Glare, attack, and then quest, and accept that 2 of the damage you're doing to yourself isn't progressing the quest. But I do just kind of wonder if the flurry could have come down a turn later even, or maybe even wait until turn 5 and freeze a giant or something.
Yeah, it's a close decision. Overall, you can also make the argument that the flurry delays the giant because it's 1 less attack from the Bloodbound Imp to discount it. Going for it here, I think I still need to be convinced to see it that early, but if anything, I really like the ping because he kind of has now the Hot Streak Fire Sale ping for the clear. Also, once again, feels pretty slow, but it's getting minions off the board.
Slight mistake.
To do it though.
Yeah, sorry. Just going to say, slight mistake from Shaxy, because he could have attacked first and then played the backfire. I'm pretty sure there's nothing that would stop him from still just attacking, which would have completed his quest more efficiently. He would then be on 3 out of 7 as opposed to 2 out of 7 now. Something to always bear in mind when you are playing this version of Warlock with Bloodbound Imps.
Yeah, good point. And maybe Fire Sale on 2 minions is a bit too slow. Like, we could see Barrier First Flame here. Or leaving up the Bloodbound always feels super risky. Okashinsuke is currently lacking Fire and Frost, so that works out pretty nicely if he goes Barrier. Right?
No, he's played Frost because he played the Flurry earlier on. So yeah, starting with Hot Streak does make some amount of sense. You could even complete the next level again right now, right? With just a Primordial Barrier first Flame. That seems sick.
Yeah, okay, he's just doing all of the above in the good order.
Or I guess you probably play Ignite actually, right? Yeah, just the more expensive of the two.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to send these face anytime soon, it feels like.
Did rope out the Discover, it looks like, and was given First Flame. I'm pretty sure you would rather Oasis Ally there, actually, just to get the Frost spell played for the 3rd level.
Potentially. Not the worst outcome. It's, like, it's not strictly wrong.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you if Okashinsuke made this decision or not.
Yeah, it's close.
Anyway, for Shaxy, Nightshade Hand available right here. Pretty strong. All he wants to see is Flesh Giants, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, start turning on the pressure. As soon as he finds Dark Glares as well, he of course has Dark Glare, Raise Dead, Flame Imp, Raise Dead, Flame Imp, Flame Imp. Like, he can deal 1,000,000 damage to himself, get a whole bunch of stuff on board, get quest completed. Like, this is progressing rapidly. Okashinsuke needs to be able to keep up, and that Brain Freeze is pretty close to the absolute dream card to be able to keep up.
That's enormous. Fire Cell Brain Freeze is a clear here. Oh, he's trading. Okay.
Interesting.
So are we going to see maybe Mini Mage Brain Freeze?
Yeah, he's like 1 mana short because he, at the moment he could just go Brain Freeze First Flame on the Matron in order to kill it off, but he might just satisfy himself with freezing but not killing the Matron and then Fire Sale it away next turn, which is probably okay.
Yeah, decent. I guess the Mini Mage doesn't actually really help with any breakpoints because everything was at higher than 3 health. I guess it helped with 1 Brain Freeze breakpoint. Yeah.
This is some kind of sus ordering, right? Like, I feel like there was some way to sequence all of this a little bit more cleanly so that you know what you're going to be playing for the rest of the turn.
No, I agree. I thought he was going to play 1 Thief instead of trading the second Fire Sale. Mini Mage, I was thinking about because you could one-shot the Imp with Brain Freeze, but then you would much rather freeze the Matron, right? So that it can't attack and then actually kill off the Imp.
So you can now go Flame Imp, Raise Dead, Giant, or, well, you complete the quest, so you can just go Giant straight up, although going for the Raise Dead, probably still something you're interested in, right? Just to get even more minions down, you could just go Raise Dead, another Flame Imp, and then the Flesh Giant as well.
Oh man, this is the real zoo portion of the deck.
Yeah, it's really coming together. Raise Dead Tamsin available next turn. Then we can start transitioning over to the OTK, the Stealer of Souls aspect of it potentially as well, if that is necessary. Looking very strong for Shaxy.
Combustion?
It just has to be, right? It's the only real card.
Nothing else is playable, you're right. The lack of a third freeze spell here means Okashinsuke is far off from his own quest completion. But honestly, even if he could get the quest done, he might just die in the meantime.
Could just start with 1 Thief. He could then hit Cone of Cold, right, for 3 mana to keep him perfectly safe for another turn. Really?
I think he really just doesn't want to play these 1 Thieves.
Yeah.
So if it's flow, it becomes mini-me? Okay, double First Flame, take as little damage as possible. So he is looking for a cram session off the top, you'd have to imagine. Actually, only 2 off from his own 7-7 here.
Yeah, true. I mean, he could play it on this very turn, right? Dark Glare. Raised Dead does put him up to an acceptable amount. That's fine. He will go to exactly 10 cards with Tamsin as well, so no worries there. Probably want to.
It's a straight up race that Shaxy, in all likelihood, is going to win.
Yeah, it does look that way, right? The hit from the Giant is just absolutely massive, swing things so drastically back in his favor. Obviously, if he finds Stealer of Souls as well, it's kind of just a wrap because he can go Stealer of Souls, backfire, and then be in a fantastic position. So okasinnsuke very much needs to find a trump card right now to pull him back into the game.
I don't know what it is. I guess Flurry from Leaf and hit the 2 nuts targets. That is not it. Tradable from Fire Sale can still get him his other Flurry. And that's game.
Just dead on board. Unlucky for okasinnsuke, giving us a wave. A very a good showing overall, I will say, for his first performance. I will say I expect to see better from him in the future. I think there was a little bit of nerves coming into play there. A couple of decisions that we didn't agree with, ordering mistakes, roping out on the Discover. You know, honestly, the kind of things that I feel like we saw towards the start of APAC GM. It was quite a consistent pattern amongst a lot of our players who then tidied it up and became very, very strong competitors. You know, I'm thinking Possessi, Glory, the real creme de la creme. And from okasinnsuke, he can still be happy, but there is still room for improvement as the weeks go on.
Absolutely. It can be pressure to play your first match on stream of the entire GM. We know he's a strong player from these consistent MT performances. He went 2-0 in the group stages. We didn't just sad that we didn't get to see exactly how that panned out. But really, I'm happy for Shaxy, not just that because he's playing very clean Hearthstone lately, aside from that little ordering on the quest completion, but because the lineup looks like it's much more reined in, not to completely trample on his creativity, but I can see that he really gets to shine when he's playing lists that kind of group of people have decided are probably better than the whimsical tech choices we might see here and there. And on top of that, Shaxy also looks a lot more invested on games. Like maybe last season there were moments where he was either being distracted by his cat in the kitchen or falling asleep. Right now he is in the comfort and privacy of his own bedroom, and he is visibly invested when he is getting the wins. And I really, really like to see that. It seems that